The member from Thornhill.
Very much, Madam Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise to speak on this motion, number 34, and I just want to read it out again, that in the opinion of this House, the Legislative Assembly of Ontario supports the federal government's decision to offer a full apology in the House of Commons for the Komagata Maru incident of 1914 and calls upon future federal governments to never again enact immigration laws based on one's religion, ethnicity, gender, race, or any other discriminatory grounds. I just want to talk a little bit about what the Komagata Maru incident was, and it involved a Japanese steamship with that name that sailed from Hong Kong through Shanghai to Japan, then to Vancouver, carrying 376 passengers from Punjab, British India. And of course, this was in 1914. And only 24 passengers were admitted to Canada, and the other 352 were not allowed to land and were forced to return to India. The passengers comprised 346, 24 Muslims, 12 Hindus, all British subjects, and this was one of several incidents in the history of the early 20th century involving exclusion laws in both Canada and the United States designed to keep out immigrants of only Asian origin. Of course, the PC caucus supports raising public awareness of historical wrongs, not just the Komagata Maru and the Japanese internment camp, but the MS St. Louis ship, as well as many, many others, Madam Speaker. I just want to mention, in case people are listening and aren't aware, that the attack on Pearl Harbor is what spurred the government to intern ethnic Japanese living in Canada under the Defence of Canada regulations and part of the War Measures Act. Canada has since apologized, as we know. The MS St. Louis was a German ocean liner, most notable for a single voyage in 1939 when its captain tried to find homes for 908 Jewish refugees from Germany. After they were denied entry to Cuba, Canada, the United States, the refugees were finally accepted in various European countries, and historians have estimated that approximately a quarter of them died in the death camps during World War II. These apologies are crucial in ensuring that we as a society learn from history and avoid repeating these mistakes. On August 3, 2008, Prime Minister Stephen Harper appeared at the 13th annual Gadri Babien de Mela Festival in Surrey, BC, to issue an apology for the Komagata Maru incident on behalf of the Government of Canada. He said in response to the House of Commons motion calling for an apology by the government, quote, on behalf of the Government of Canada, I am officially conveying as Prime Minister that apology. Some members of the Sikh community were unsatisfied with the apology as they expected it to be made in Parliament, which now Prime Minister Trudeau will be doing. Harper's apology was made part of the official record of the House of Commons by Canada's first turban-wearing Sikh minister, Tim Uppal, under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He should be congratulated for that. The Conservative government funded the creation of the Komagata Maru Museum, as well as a travelling exhibit. They also included the Komagata Maru in the Canadian Museum of Immigration in Halifax and the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. The Conservatives funded a monument at the Vancouver Harbour and invested $5 million in commemorative and educational projects about the Komagata Maru. The Conservatives ensured the citizenship study guide now includes Komagata Maru and issued an official Komagata Maru commemorative stamp for the centenary. The Liberals have nothing on record up till now that even acknowledges this incident. And I'm just reading all these out, which I really wasn't planning to, Madam Speaker, in my original notes, except that the member who presented this motion, and I just want to make sure I get it's Brampton West. The member from Brampton West was, unfortunately, he gave us a great historical account, and then he turned it into a partisan issue, which is very unfortunate, especially since it was the Conservatives who have done so much to raise awareness of this issue. Exactly. Well, obviously, a lot more can be done to teach people about Canada's history, even the tough-to-hear Canadian history. And today we had a wonderful reception with the Vietnamese community, and many of us still have scarves here to commemorate Freedom Day, and we tasted some of their food, and we got to meet many members of the community, and they were here to listen to statements from both sides of the House on it. And we all know that it was referred to as boat people because so many of the Vietnamese who fled Vietnam after the Vietnam War came by boat. And, these incidents, there isn't enough time this afternoon. Unfortunately, it's too long a list to talk about so many incidences. So what I want to say is, I myself felt very uncomfortable, and it was one of the reasons why I left Montreal, because of Bill 101 in Quebec, which I felt was discriminatory against Anglophone rights. And, I think it's a very unfortunate footnote in Canadian history that Anglophones felt so comfortable and left Quebec. But I think the Ontario legislature benefits from so many, I call them Anglophone refugees, who came from predominantly Montreal, and many of them are residing in my riding of Thornhill. We also have to look to the future, Madam Speaker, and we have to think what is going on now that we could ensure does not cause us to have to give restitution or supply apologies in the future for wrongdoings that may be going on Canadian soil, or maybe with things on other soils that we are not doing enough to prevent. One that came to my mind, and I hate to even say it, it's a Thursday afternoon before we have the Jewish holiday of Passover tomorrow. We have Coptic Easter coming up. I think there's a Baha'i holiday this week. Everybody's looking forward to celebrating, and I feel bad when I bring up uncomfortable subjects. But are we doing enough to ensure that young girls in Canada aren't being taken overseas to have genital mutilation performed on them? Will they be coming back to us to say, you did not take away my passport, you did not educate my parents, you did not question where I was going? Doctors are not forced to report when this is done, as far as I know, in many jurisdictions. Is it even a crime in our province? These are things that we need to look at, Madam Speaker. We have to protect the young girls of the future in Canada. We just spoke about emotion and about sexual harassment in the workplace. Well, let's do more to ensure and be proactive that we're not coming back and apologizing for wrongdoings in the future. Thank you.